Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. When you're walking in your purpose, when you're chasing after something great, there will always be people who come against you. Not because you're wrong, not because you're weak, but because there's something in them that can't stand the light in you. Some people have already made up their minds about you. No matter what you say, no matter how much truth you bring, they've already chosen to misunderstand you. They've chosen to misunderstand you. It's not a mistake. It's not a coincidence. It's intentional. They don't want clarity. They don't want to hear your side. They don't want to see things from a different perspective. They've decided that their version of you, the one they've created in their mind, the one that fits their narrative, is the only version that exists. And that's exactly why you need to stop explaining yourself. There is a point where your words become wasted breath. There is a point where your explanations fall on deaf ears. You could lay it all out, piece by piece, with absolute clarity, and they will still twist it, still distort it, still refuse to hear it, because their goal was never to understand. It was to keep you tangled in their web. The more time you spend defending yourself, the more control they have over you. You think you're fixing the situation, but you're just feeding into their game. Some people thrive on conflict. They thrive on confusion. They thrive on keeping you emotionally drained. The moment you recognize this, everything changes. You start to see the pattern, the cycle of justifying, explaining, and trying to prove yourself, only to end up frustrated, misunderstood, and emotionally exhausted. The more you try to make them see the truth, the more they resist it. They don't reject your words because they don't understand them. They reject them because understanding you would require them to let go of their own bitterness, insecurity, or control. Not everyone is meant to understand you. Not everyone is capable of seeing things from where you stand. Some people are committed to their own version of reality, and no matter what you do, they will twist your intentions, question your motives, and downplay your truth. They will take your kindness and call it weakness. They will take your confidence and call it arrogance. They will take your past and use it against you, even when you've outgrown it. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your growth. You don't have to justify your healing, your decisions, or your peace. Some people will never accept the version of you that refuses to shrink for their comfort. They liked you better when you were doubting yourself. They liked you better when you were constantly seeking their approval. But the moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you stop trying to prove your worth, they become uncomfortable, because now they have no control over how you see yourself. This is why silence is powerful. Not every situation requires a response. Not every attack requires a defense. Sometimes the best way to handle those who refuse to understand you is to let them think whatever they want. Let them have their opinions. Let them assume. Let them twist and turn your words however they please. Because at the end of the day, the truth will always reveal itself. Time has a way of exposing everything: who is real, who is fake, who is acting out of love, and who is moving in deception. You can't control how people see you, but you can control how much access they have to you. You don't have to engage in every battle, and you don't have to prove yourself to those who have already decided they don't want to understand you. Let them misunderstand, let them judge, let them gossip. Your life's purpose is too great to be derailed by small-minded people who don't even want to know the real you. You'll know when someone truly wants to understand you. You'll feel the difference. There will be openness, a willingness to listen, a desire for clarity rather than conflict. Those are the people worth your time, your energy, your words. But the ones who only seek to misunderstand, the ones who twist and manipulate, those people were never for you to begin with. So let them go. Stop explaining yourself. Stop defending yourself. Live your truth, walk in your purpose, and watch how the right people, the ones who are meant to be in your life, will never need an explanation. They will see you for who you are, not for who others say you are. And that is where your energy should be. on building, on growing, on thriving, not on justifying yourself to people who have already decided they don't want to understand. Sometimes, when you encounter resistance, hostility, or negativity from a person, it's not really them you're dealing with, it's the Spirit operating through them. It's easy to take things personally, to feel hurt or offended when someone treats you unfairly, but there are deeper forces at work. The battles we fight in life are not just physical or emotional, they are spiritual. Some people are being used and they don't even realize it. They are vessels for something beyond them, something dark, something that seeks to distract, derail, and destroy. When you start walking in purpose, when you start stepping into who you were meant to be, don't be surprised when opposition rises. It won't always come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from the people closest to you. Friends, family, colleagues, people you once trusted. And when it happens, your first instinct might be to fight them, to argue, to prove your point. But you have to remember, it's not just them. There's something else moving behind the scenes, influencing their actions, pushing them to come against you in ways they wouldn't even understand if you pointed it out. Have you ever had someone turn against you for no clear reason? Someone who once supported you suddenly starts speaking against you? Someone who once loved you now seems to resent you? You rack your brain trying to figure out what changed, what went wrong, what you did to deserve this shift in their attitude. But sometimes it's not about what you did, it's about what's in you. The spirit in them recognizes the spirit in you, and it can't stand the light you carry. Darkness is always uncomfortable in the presence of light. When you start growing, when you start healing, when you start moving toward your purpose, you disrupt the spirits that have been at ease in those around you. You force them to confront things they don't want to deal with. Insecurities, jealousy, bitterness, pride. And instead of facing those things, they turn their energy toward you. They attack, they slander, they try to make you question yourself. But it's not really about you. It's about the battle between the light and the darkness operating in unseen places. This is why discernment is so important. If you don't recognize what's really happening, you'll spend your time fighting people instead of the spirits influencing them. You'll waste energy trying to fix relationships that were never meant to be fixed, explaining yourself to people who don't even hear you, defending yourself against accusations that were designed to distract you. When you understand the spiritual nature of these battles, your response changes. You stop reacting in anger. You stop seeking validation. You stop trying to force people to understand you. Instead, you step back, you pray, you protect your peace, and you let God handle what's beyond your control. Some people are unknowingly being used. Their bitterness opens a door. Their insecurity gives access. Their pain creates an entry point. And before they know it, they're being influenced by something that is not of them. This is why you can't hate them. This is why you can't hold on to resentment. They might not even realize what they're doing. They might think they're justified in their actions, completely unaware that they're being moved like a puppet by something unseen. Think about the moments in your own life when you've acted out of character, when you've said things in anger, when you've treated someone in a way that wasn't reflective of who you truly are. What was driving you in that moment? Was it fear? Was it hurt? Was it pride? Sometimes the very same spirits that work through others have tried to work through us. The difference is when you have awareness, when you recognize what's happening, you can fight back, you can resist, you can choose not to be used as a weapon against someone else. So when people come against you, don't just see them, see what's working through them. See the bigger picture. Understand that not every attack requires a response. Not every argument is worth engaging in. Some battles are meant to be fought in silence, in prayer, in wisdom. The best way to counteract a spirit operating through someone else is not with words, not with anger, not with retaliation, but with spiritual authority. Stay grounded. Stay connected to truth. Don't let their actions pull you out of character. Because at the end of the day, it's not really them. It's the Spirit operating through them. And once you see that, you won't waste another moment explaining yourself to those who were never meant to understand you in the first place. There comes a point in life when you have to realize that your peace is more valuable than any explanation you could offer. You owe it to yourself to walk away from negativity, and you don't have to justify that decision to anyone. Far too often we find ourselves caught in toxic situations, trying to explain our every move, our every thought, our every feeling to people who have no intention of understanding. The weight of trying to defend yourself, to prove yourself, is draining, and in the process, we forget that we don't owe anyone our time, our energy, or our peace, especially when they are bringing nothing but negativity into our lives. Negativity comes in many forms: criticism, judgment, gossip, resentment, or even passive-aggressive behavior. It's that energy that sucks the life out of a room, the kind of energy that makes you question your worth or second-guess your decisions. People who dwell in negativity are often so consumed by their own insecurities, fears, and wounds that they project that energy onto others. And while it might be hard to accept at first, not everyone around you will have the capacity to support you, to encourage you, or to uplift you as you grow. Sometimes those closest to you might be the ones who bring the most negativity into your life. And that's when you need to recognize that walking away is not just a choice. It's an act of self-respectivity. You don't need to explain your decision to cut ties with someone who continuously undermines you. You don't owe them an explanation for choosing peace over drama, serenity over chaos, growth over stagnation. The truth is, there will always be people who don't understand your choices, especially when your choices challenge their way of thinking or force them to confront their own discomfort. It's easy for someone who is stuck in their own world of negativity to lash out when they see you moving in a different direction. But just because they don't understand doesn't mean you have to justify your decisions to them. You owe it to yourself to create boundaries, to protect your heart, and to guard your mind from the negativity that others try to project onto you. When you make the decision to walk away, to disconnect from situations or people who bring you down, you're doing it for your own mental and emotional well-being. And you're choosing yourself, and that's a choice that you don't need to explain to anyone. Think about the energy it takes to constantly defend yourself, to try to get someone to see things from your perspective, to justify your actions, your decisions, or your beliefs to someone who isn't even listening. It's exhausting, and it's a waste of precious time and energy that could be spent building your future, pursuing your dreams, or investing in the relationships that truly nourish you. There's freedom in realizing that you don't need to make anyone see things your way. You don't need to convince people to understand you, to validate your choices, or to agree with your path. You have the power to walk away from anything or anyone that doesn't serve you, and that doesn't require a lengthy explanation. One of the hardest things to do, especially for those who care deeply about others, is to walk away without offering an explanation. We feel obligated to justify our decisions, to ensure the other person understands why we're leaving, why we're stepping back, why we're choosing peace. But the truth is, sometimes no explanation is needed. Sometimes the best way to show someone that you value yourself is by walking away, quietly, with grace and strength. It's not about confrontation. It's not about drama. It's about recognizing that your time, your energy, and your peace are too valuable to be spent on people or situations that bring negativity into your life. We often find ourselves explaining our decisions because we fear the judgment of others. We fear that they will misunderstand us, that they will see us as weak, selfish, or uncaring. But the reality is, walking away from negativity is one of the strongest things you can do. It takes strength to walk away from a toxic friendship, to leave a relationship that's draining you, to distance yourself from people who continuously bring you down. You're choosing to protect your well-being over worrying about how others perceive you. And that's the most powerful form of self-love. Remember, no one else has to understand your journey. No one else has to agree with the choices you make for your own life. You don't have to justify your decisions to anyone. You don't have to explain why you choose to walk away from negativity or why you decide to protect your peace. People will talk, they will judge, they will try to make you feel guilty for putting yourself first, but the only opinion that matters is your own. You are the one who has to live with the consequences of your decisions, and you are the one who has to carry the weight of your emotional and mental well-being. At the end of the day, you owe it to yourself to stop explaining yourself to people who bring negativity into your life. You owe it to yourself to set boundaries, to let go of relationships that no longer serve you, and to protect your peace. You owe it to yourself to walk away from situations that drain you, that hold you back, that weigh you down. Distractions are one of the most subtle yet powerful forces in life. They show up when you least expect them, taking your attention away from what matters and leading you down paths that only serve to derail your progress. But sometimes the most insidious distractions come disguised as people who seem harmless, even supportive, but who, in reality, are there to keep you from your purpose. These distractions wear the face of familiarity, comfort, or even affection, making them harder to spot. They don't scream for your attention like a flashing neon sign. Instead, they sneak into your life quietly, often under the guise of friendship, family, or love. And if you're not careful, they will divert your focus just enough to prevent you from reaching your full potential. Remember, no one else has to understand your journey. No one else has to agree with the choices you make for your own life. You don't have to justify your decisions to anyone. You don't have to explain why you choose to walk away from negativity or why you decide to protect your peace. People will talk. They will judge. They will try to make you feel guilty for putting yourself first. But the only opinion that matters is your own. You are the one who has to live with the consequences of your decisions, and you are the one who has to carry the weight of your emotional and mental well-being. At the end of the day, you owe it to yourself to stop explaining yourself to people who bring negativity into your life. You owe it to yourself to set boundaries, to let go of relationships that no longer serve you, and to protect your peace. You owe it to yourself to walk away from situations that drain you, that hold you back, that weigh you down. And you don't owe anyone an explanation for doing so. Distractions are one of the most subtle yet powerful forces in life. They show up when you least expect them, taking your attention away from what matters and leading you down paths that only serve to derail your progress. But sometimes, the most insidious distractions come disguised as people who seem harmless, even supportive, but who, in reality, are there to keep you from your purpose. These distractions wear the face of familiarity, comfort, or even affection, making them harder to spot. They don't scream for your attention like a flashing neon sign. Instead, they sneak into your life quietly, often under the guise of friendship, family, or love. And if you're not careful, they will divert your focus just enough to prevent you from reaching your full potential. People can distract you in so many ways. Some distract you by filling your life with unnecessary drama, constantly pulling you into situations that have nothing to do with your goals. They love to gossip, complain, and stir up conflict. And if you're not vigilant, you find yourself sucked into these negative energy drains. They create chaos around them, and suddenly you're so caught up in the whirlwind of their lives that you lose sight of your own. They bring their problems into your world, and without even realizing it, you become entangled in their mess. Before long, your focus shifts from your own ambitions to helping them solve problems that weren't meant to be yours in the first place. Then, there are people who distract you by simply existing in your space without contributing to your growth. These are the people who don't necessarily bring chaos or drama into your life, but who drain your energy in subtler ways. They might be acquaintances who linger around, taking up your time without offering anything of value in return. They might be people who are constantly seeking validation or attention, drawing your energy into their needs without considering what you need to achieve. While they may not be outright harmful, they slowly siphon off your mental and emotional resources, leaving you with less energy to devote to your own goals. It's easy to fall into the trap of trying to keep everyone happy, trying to be there for everyone, but in doing so, you risk neglecting your own journey. Some distractions are more insidious. People who disguise their true intentions as support or advice. These are the ones who claim to have your best interests at heart, but are secretly threatened by your growth. They may give you advice that seems wise on the surface, but when you dig deeper, it's really just a projection of their own fears or insecurities. They tell you what you should or shouldn't do based on their own limited experience or outdated beliefs. They may not mean any harm, but their words come with subtle undertones that undermine your confidence and keep you from stepping fully into your own power. It's easy to listen to people who seem to care, especially when their advice aligns with what's familiar, but the truth is, sometimes well-meaning people can be the biggest distractions. They hold you back not because they want to see you fail, but because they're afraid of the change that success could bring. Then there are those who create distractions simply by being in the wrong place in your life at the wrong time. These are the people who have no business being in your inner circle, but because of history, familiarity, or comfort, you allow them to stay. They might be old friends, relatives, or acquaintances who have outlived their purpose in your life. They might have been there for you in the past, but now they're just taking up space, keeping you in the past while you're trying to move forward. They hold you in a version of yourself that no longer serves you. They keep reminding you of who you used to be, and because of that, they prevent you from evolving into who you're meant to become. These are the people who unintentionally keep you stuck in old patterns, old ways of thinking, and old habits that are no longer aligned with your present or future self. The most dangerous distractions are often the ones that seem the most loving or familiar. These are the people who say they want the best for you, but secretly hold you back because of their own unmet needs, their own insecurities, or their own fears. They love you in their way, but their way doesn't allow for your full growth. They're the ones who want you to stay where you are because your change might make them uncomfortable. They might feel threatened by your success, by your new ideas, or by the fact that you're moving on without them. These people are not inherently bad, but they can be the most harmful because they disguise their distractions as care. They might say things like, "I just want to make sure you're being realistic," or "I just want to protect you from making a mistake," when in reality, they are afraid of you outgrowing them. They love you, but they also need you to stay small because if you grow too much, they fear they will be left behind. Distractions come in all shapes and sizes, but when people are the ones distracting you, they're the hardest to recognize. They look like support, they look like friendship, they look like love. But you have to ask yourself, are they helping you become the person you're meant to be? Are they adding value to your life? Or are they taking away your focus, your time, your energy? Are they pushing you forward, or are they subtly pulling you back? Recognizing distractions in the form of people takes discernment. It takes awareness of your own path and the courage to distance yourself from those who no longer serve you. It's not easy, but it's necessary. When you learn to recognize the distractions disguised as people, you'll begin to protect your time, your energy, and your focus, and you'll be free to pursue your purpose without interference. Truth, in its purest form, doesn't require anyone to defend it. It stands on its own, unwavering and solid, regardless of the circumstances. When you speak the truth, it doesn't need embellishment, and it doesn't need anyone to fight on its behalf. It doesn't need justification or explanation. The truth has a power of its own. Over time, it reveals itself in ways that no amount of persuasion or argument can. Truth operates on a level beyond human manipulation, beyond spin, beyond what is spoken in the heat of the moment. It simply is, and that undeniable reality eventually comes to light. Often we feel the urge to defend the truth because we fear that it won't be accepted or recognized. In moments of conflict or misunderstanding, it's easy to become caught up in the need to prove our point, to make others see things the way we do. We want to convince others of the validity of what we know, to show them that our version of the story is the one that holds weight. But in these moments, we forget one essential thing. Truth doesn't need to be defended. It speaks for itself. It has a quiet strength that doesn't rely on the force of words or the conviction of its defender. Truth is not bound by time or by people's perceptions. No matter how much someone tries to distort or hide the truth, it will eventually reveal itself. Time has a way of peeling back the layers of deception, unraveling the falsehoods that people cling to, and showing the world what was always there. You can't keep truth hidden forever. It has a way of emerging when the conditions are right, when enough space is given for it to come through. When you find yourself in a situation where others challenge the truth, resist the urge to fight for it. The truth doesn't need to be shoved in people's faces or forced into their understanding. It doesn't need to be paraded around to get recognition. The more you try to force the truth onto someone, the more resistance you create. People who aren't ready to accept it won't see it, no matter how hard you try. Instead of defending it, allow it to unfold naturally. Trust that in time, others will come to recognize it for what it is. The truth, in its own quiet way, dismantles lies. It chips away at false narratives and leaves nothing standing but what is real. You can tell a lie 100 times and you can defend it 1,000 times, but eventually the truth will rise to the surface. It doesn't require your effort to make it visible. It simply needs time to manifest. And when the truth finally comes to light, it will have a far greater impact than any defense you could have made. People will see it for themselves, and they will recognize its undeniable power. This is not to say that speaking out is unnecessary. There are times when the truth must be spoken, when silence is not the right course of action. But when you speak the truth, do so without the need for validation. Speak it because it is the right thing to do, not because you need others to agree with you or acknowledge your position. When you stand firm in your truth, without the need to defend it or prove it, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of convincing others. You stop giving away your power to those who are not yet ready to accept what you know to be real. It is often those who are insecure in their own beliefs who feel the need to challenge the truth. They feel threatened by what they don't understand, by what doesn't fit into their view of the world. They may argue, question, or resist what is true because it makes them uncomfortable. But the more you try to defend your truth in the face of their opposition, the more you empower their disbelief. Instead of wasting your energy trying to convince others of something they are not ready to see, let the truth unfold at its own pace. Trust that the right people, the right moments will come, and when they do, the truth will reveal itself. One of the most powerful things about truth is its ability to stand on its own without the need for validation from others. You don't need to convince the world that you are right. You don't need to gather an audience to stand with you. The truth is not contingent on public opinion or external acknowledgement. It doesn't depend on whether others see it or accept it immediately. The truth simply is. And when people are ready, they will recognize it. It doesn't need to be rushed or forced. It doesn't need to be argued or defended. Truth has a way of finding its audience when the time is right. And when it does, it will resonate with them in ways that will make the effort to defend it seem unnecessary. When you allow the truth to reveal itself, you shift from a place of anxiety and fear to a place of calm certainty. You don't need to worry about who believes you or who doesn't. You don't need to defend yourself against accusations or misunderstandings. The truth will speak for you. It will shine through the fog of confusion and reveal itself clearly, even to those who may have once doubted it. The more you trust in this process, the less you feel the need to engage in the struggle of proving yourself. The truth will do the work for you. And even when the truth seems obscured, even when the world is filled with doubt, remember that it is only a matter of time before it comes to light. Stay patient. Stay grounded in your own understanding. Trust that the truth will rise above all the noise, all the confusion, and all the distortion. It doesn't need you to defend it. It simply needs you to stand in it, believe in it, and let time reveal it to those who need to see it. You ever notice how some people don't listen? You explain, you break it down, you try to make peace, and yet no matter what you say, they twist it, they distort it, they use it against you. You're not talking to the person, you're talking to something deeper. The enemy doesn't show up with horns and a pitchfork. No, he moves through people, through bitterness, through jealousy, through insecurity. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your whole life explaining yourself to people who have no intention of understanding you. Stop. You don't need their approval. You don't need their validation. You don't need their permission to be who God called you to be. When you know who you are, when you know what's in you, you stop arguing with people who aren't even listening. You stop justifying yourself to those who aren't seeking truth but looking for an opportunity to tear you down. Instead, protect your peace, guard your spirit, walk away when you need to. Some battles aren't yours to fight. Some people aren't meant to be convinced. Let them think what they want. Let them talk. Because at the end of the day, truth speaks louder than words, and your purpose is bigger than their opinions. You've got work to do. Stay focused, stay prayed up, and stop explaining yourself to demons and people.